This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. As sports fans, oftentimes, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, you name it, it's our form of therapy. It's where we go to get away. Sometimes it becomes our mental health issues, but through it all, BetterHelp is there for you. I personally have utilized BetterHelp. It was a great journey, and I definitely came out on the right end of it. I'm so thankful for it. And I just feel so much better doing it, knowing more about myself, being able to communicate my emotions better. So thankful for it. So if you're thinking about starting your therapy journey, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you need to, switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I got lucky with my therapist. I stuck with him the whole time, but I know there's others out there that you're looking for the right match, and that's what BetterHelp is there for. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Onto the show.
All right. That was a great word from our sponsors. But hey, guys, we're back with season 4, episode 6 of the SurgeCast. I know you guys are still getting through that big Mike Maniscalco episode. There was so much news, so much to talk about, lots of laughs. But we're just excited because we've got another big Canes name with us today. But first of all, I'm Kat.
I'm Bailey.
I'm Zach.
And for anyone that's not on our visual side of things, our fourth in the studio today is Mr. Shane Willis.
Hey, everybody. I didn't know if I was supposed to jump in there and say I'm Shane.
Mike's done that. Mike just started doing it by himself as well. So, yeah, it seems like we always kind of set it up like that. And the guest is like, should I say something?
Yeah,
so
I was like, is this where I go? I usually have a producer or Hannah telling me what to do anyways. So
yeah, right. Or you got Mike on the Canes cast. All right, Shane, how are we going to do this?
Yeah. And he's looking at me and more and more. He's like, I can't believe you just said that.
If you listen to the Canes cast long enough, it's kind of par for the course where you're like, sure. It makes sense.
Yes. It all works out at some point.
Yeah.
I was going to say a little less of a loose script or a little more of a loose script. So I guess it depends on how we roll things, I suppose.
Oh, gosh.
This is what happens when you have 3 hosts of a podcast. It just kind of depends how we're feeling that day, how it rolls, or what we remember.
Yeah, I see. Mike and I are like that too. And I'm like, Mike, we should turn this off. We've been on here an hour and a half. And people tell us that was a long one the other day. I was in the car, but we try and stay on task. We seldom write things down to keep us on task, but when Mike does, we usually run things a little bit tighter. But again, you have to. I think that's what makes a successful podcast is you tell those behind the scenes stories. You have a little bit of fun, and that's what keeps people coming back to listen for more.
I was going to say, you're going to fit in perfectly here.
So we talked a little bit before we hit record. We talked a little bit. You've been having quite a fun summer here, Shane. There's been so much going on. So I guess it's been a little bit, but our first thing we want to talk to you about is the alumni game against UNC. I got to go, which was really, really fun. The alumni still got, you guys were kind of schooling the new kids.
The funny part coming into that game was, and I hadn't skated very much. The guys do a good job of continuing to stay on the ice. They're usually around Invisalign Arena on Tuesdays at lunchtime. We've kind of got a regular skate going, but with my work schedule and different things going on with summer camps, I hadn't been over there very much. And when we walked in the room, we were loose, but there was a lot of people saying that we were going to get slaughtered.
Hold up.
well, people were also a little surprised because if you were there, or if you heard some rumblings, Cam Ward was actually not in goal.
I think that's what everyone thought. They're like, well, you guys are going to get beat, but you have Cam. And they're like, wait, he's not playing goalie? I'm like, no, he's not putting the pads on ever again. He likes to play out and have fun. And
can't blame the guy.
That's me in soccer. If I don't have to play goalie, I don't want to. I want to play on the field. I understand that.
When we retire, we realize all the weird things we did when we were younger. And he thought, I don't need to get puck shot at me at 100 miles an hour anymore.
Right.
So why do it?
Yeah.
He was the one guy, though. It was funny. I was already in the locker room. We were sitting around kind of relaxed talking. And he walked in. He goes, they're warming up. And I was like, what are you talking about, Cam? He's like they're in their gym stuff running around outside. Like, these guys are taking it serious. And we were all kind of like, well, yeah, this is their shot. I mean, this is their shot for the big time. But we also played that game very smart because UNC hadn't practiced yet. They had just come back to town for school. We knew they hadn't been on the ice. We felt confident we could. I mean, we knew it was going to be close, but I didn't think we were going to shell them like we did. But
sounds like they weren't the only ones taking it serious then. With that
Yeah.
kind of attitude.
Let's be honest. You're talking about AHL like guys against a bunch of college kids. I mean, to be fair, we all know NC State would put more of an effort than UNC Chapel Hill. But,
Hey, you watch it, mister.
I will say it was funny, like, even though with the alumni, like, yeah, they put on skates and stuff, but just the speed you guys played at compared to them, like, it was great. Like, you would think, like, these are kids that younger, they're fresher on the ice, but you guys were seriously kind of kicking their butts there for a little bit.
And well, the best part is, Kat, and the part you couldn't see was like when we really turned it back up a notch, when we came back to the bench, how bad we actually felt. And how long it took us to. I remember in the first period, I came back to the bench and Bates was looking at me laughing. He goes, you sped up a little bit there, Willie. Once again, I said, that was a mistake. Like, my lung hurts, my leg hurt. He goes, you looked almost a little bit out of control. My shoulder hurt. I told him before the game, I said, I'm going to be passing it. I said, Bates, don't be surprised because your entire career, I never passed it back to you because I wanted to shoot. I said, tonight I'm passing it back. My shoulder hurts. I don't want to shoot. And he's like, well, we need you to score. If we're going to win, you got to score. But we had a ton of fun. I mean, it's so good to hang out with the guys and be a part of it. And to be a part of something, when we talk about community-based, of what every one of these guys still loves to be in, to be able to help, UNC continue to help raise money. They're looking to build a brand new facility out in Chapel Hill. So for us to support them and have a great night and, let them think they were going to beat us for a minute, then,
How kind
I
of
love
you.
that. I love that. I didn't want to shoot, but I'm pretty sure you had 2 goals in that game.
Well, if you
Almost
go back
3.
and look, if you go back and watch both those goals, neither one of them were really shots like I used to shoot in the day.
Okay.
One was a rebound that I just kind of bunted into an empty net. And the second one, I faked like I was really going to shoot it. And it was more of a pass to the back post and in. And everyone's like, oh, did you mean it? I'm like, well, yeah, I meant to do that because I couldn't shoot it. It hurt my shoulder to shoot if I had to.
Hey, I was cheering for the hat trick. I was cheering for Cam to get one.
Well, speaking of Cam, because he loves to play out. Like, he has so much fun playing out. And Eric Cole and I were on the line with him. And Eric came over the blue line. He gave it to me, and I dropped it back to Cam. And I was skating behind the net. And I remember putting my hand up beside my head because I was like, I don't want to get hit in the head. I don't know if Cam has the accuracy as most guys don't. And he fired one. It hit the glass. And we got back to the bench, and he was just smiling. He goes, did you see that? I'm like, yeah, it went right by my head. And he goes, it was so close. And Eric turns and looks at him and goes, 4 feet. And he's like, what? I see. He goes, 4 feet wide. And he goes, maybe, but it really hit the glass.
Maybe.
Yeah. He was just so pumped out how hard it hit the glass.
Oh my God.
It's like the goal's over here. It's that thing, not my.
I know it's small, but come on, Cam.
Yeah.
You played that.
I was just glad I put my hand up beside my head and didn't take it in the ear.
Oh God.
I did see. So I saw a lot of veterans. There were some young guys on your team though. Were they like sons, kids? How was your team like combined? And Brindamore wasn't out there. So how did you guys get your team together? Yeah,
Rod pulled the I'm not allowed card from the NHL side and the team thing, and we let him slide. We did have Eric Cole's son Landon join us. So we wanted, again, when we talk about playing smart, we had to add a little bit of young guys to keep, if we got tired, we knew we'd have their energy. So Eric Cole's son Landon played with us. He's playing at the junior level up in the Maryland, DC. One of his good friends that he grew up with played with us on defense. And then we had a couple other guys that played Tier 3 junior here in town join us. And then obviously the other young guy we put on was Aaron Duda, who was the outgoing coach of UNC, who just went down to the East Coast League in South Carolina. But he was their head coach for the past year. So he was excited to be on our team and score. He scored, so that was kind of his, swan song going out the door, is that he beat the kids after he taught them all year long.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh.
I can imagine the little come to Jesus moment that brought for the kids over on the other side, though.
Yeah. Well, and I tell everyone too, it's a big difference when we say you're not allowed to hit. It makes a big difference for young players because they don't really know how to play a zone. They try and force things into different areas, and we just remain patient and kind of knock things down and take the game back towards them. And we give credit to George Alves. George Alves played great in net for us for the first 2 periods.
Well, the legend himself, you kind of have to, you're kind of solid net when he's in there.
Name to live up to, right?
I mean, he still practices actively with the team.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell he has the worst job in the league. Not only is he the equipment guy, so he's dealing with all that, and then when practice ends, he comes out the door ice cold. When NHL players are in a full lather, they're warmed up, they're ready to go, and they just start shooting bullets. It's not, let's warm Georgie up a minute. It is straight bullets past his ears, and he just loves it. Stands in there every day.
Doing this for fun. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's not getting paid to get hit in the throat.
I love what you said. No hits, taking it easy. But there, towards the end, there was a little physicality. The UNC guys wanted to get back into the. I was like, oh, it was funny because there was a little size differential there, even. But I also saw. I know you said Rod kind of used the I can't, but some of his assistant coaches were out there with you guys, right?
Peter Harold was out there, so the skills development coach played defense for us. Peter was a great defenseman. Patrick Eves coached us. Patrick Eves just had his hip done. So he was out. And Jeff Daniels, assistant coach Jeff Daniels joined us. JD loves getting a little work in and enjoying being around the guys. So we had a lot of fun. We could have used Tim Gleason. Well, Tim Gleason would have brought the physical risk value back into play.
Let me show these kids how it's done.
Him and Aaron Ward together. Oh boy, someone's gonna get smacked.
Yeah, we felt good. If we had Gleason, Ward, and Jesse on the ice, we felt good. It was not going to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Well, I was asking because I was pretty sure I saw Daniels there, and when I was standing at the boards, there was a family beside me, and they were talking about it, and they're like, yeah, we're new getting into this hockey thing. And their little kid there, he had his own little mullet starting and everything. And apparently he was like, there's my coach out there. My coach is out. And he was so excited. And it was Jeff Daniel. And I was like, yeah, one of the coaches for the Carolina Hurricanes is your coach. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so they were like, oh yeah, he is. That's a perfect
lead in right there to something else we do all summer in our first goal program, because Jeff Daniels is a huge help to myself in the program. So Jeff does coach in Cary for me. So he was there every Saturday, and he goes to Hillsborough as well for me. Bates Battaglia is also one of my coaches. He does, the Raleigh Iceplex and Wake Forest, and I kind of hit the other rinks around the area. But it's amazing to see these kids in the program. We had another 680 kids go into the Learn to Play program this year, brand new to hockey. We had a ton of females join our program again. So to see these kids, and we talk about being out in the community, that's how they know us. They probably know my name is Shane, but it's easier for them to say there's coach. And I hear kids yelling at us all the time, hey, coach. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to remember 600 kids' names, but I just go with buddy. Mm-hmm. So if they call me coach, I'm good with calling them, hey, buddy.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. That has to be so fun. Like, you're out there and you're going to a game and you get to see your coach in action. Just like for the UNC, like you said, like the old UNC coach was playing against, when you see the guys that are teaching you how to play hockey and get to see them like really on the ice, like actually like wanting to score, doing like not just drills, but like full on hockey. Like that has to make you pumped. Like you're just like, I can't wait to learn even more from this guy. Cause like, I know he knows what he's talking about, but for kids to see it in action, like it's so exciting. Like you're like, I know that guy. That I'm going to be like him if I keep working with him.
Yeah. I mean, to get on the ice with these kids who are so young, I mean, they're 5 to 10 when we're skating with them. It's so much fun, the hour we get to spend with them. The parents are so thankful. And I see parents all the time. They're like, well, I don't know if I'm mad at you or so happy because we met you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, my kid loves playing hockey. I'm like, well, that's great. He's like, yeah, but now I'm like all in. Like we're traveling all over the place and like we're at the rinks every weekend. I'm like, yeah, that's what it takes.
Buying all the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And especially for a new kid too, like that. I mean, that equipment's not cheap either. So
Yeah, that's a big part. That's the best part about our programs because they get equipment with it.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they get head to toe equipment. They get 6 ice sessions. They get 2 tickets to a Canes game. We just sent the link out the other day, so people are getting 2 free tickets. We actually had, I think, a few seats left at opening night they could have got into. So there were some great choices for them this year going forward. And we create hockey players, we create fans, we create more family atmosphere coming to games and things like that. So it's been a real successful program, hockey-wise and business-wise, from both sides for us as a Hurricanes organization.
Now, let me know if I'm misremembering too, but you mentioned you don't maybe have as much of an opportunity to get out on the ice as some of the other guys. Do you feel like you go into these practices or these sessions with the kids a little rusty, or do you have an opportunity to kind of get that worked up so they're not like, oh, coach is kind of slacking a little bit?
Wow. Like I said, they're 5
His
to
shoulder
10.
hurts less with them.
The oldest kid is 10 years old. I still feel I'm better than a 10-year-old who's never skated before.
Yeah.
wow.
I hope.
But I'll tell you this, in summer camp, it's funny. I always have great instructors come on the ice with me. I make sure I pick the proper drill that I'm good at, so I don't look bad. I did have I took a spill this summer. I always try. When little kids are on the ice, you have to be careful. There's a reason we all wear helmets now as coaches. And we were on the ice, and it was an all-girls group. It was during our 3rd week of camp, I believe. And we had a group of all girls on the ice. We had 30 young girls on the ice, and we're breaking up, going to our station. And this little girl was right beside me. I remember looking down at her as I was going backwards, and I turned to look somewhere else, and I'd look back and I'm like, where'd she go? And she had button hooked right behind me. I went over top of her, and I landed square on my back. I definitely had the head tap on the ice. And, of course, I roll over, and I'm mad. I was about to blow my top, and I get up, and you really can't. This little girl sitting there, she goes, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's okay. It's not your fault. That was my fault. And I'm just like,
no, and I bring this up with like the utmost respect. It's like I used to coach with soccer too, and like the amount of times I've taken spills in front of 5 years old, and it hurts the ego a little bit. Sometimes.
She did the whole summer camp thing where you get behind them, duck down, and then someone pushes them, but she just let momentum.
Yeah. You just got tabletops.
And now with Live Barn, everything is footage you could capture. Like you could pull Live Barn footage and see people crash. I had a coach, it was during COVID, we were coaching my son's team. And so we're standing on the bench, and he leaned up and put his foot on the boards to look over. And then when he went to step back, he missed the bench, falls down on the ground, rolls under the bench. He quickly jumps back up, and I'm on the end of the bench. You can't even see how hard I'm laughing because we had masks on. And I'm texting a dad who's outside because the parents weren't allowed in. I'm like, pull the Live Barn footage at 2:43. And he's like, what? I said, just do it. Within 10 minutes, there was a group text going with the video of him falling off the bench through our entire parents string. And he's looking, he's like, seriously? I'm like, that's hilarious. I still have it on my phone today.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
So you mentioned like how the program has, developed a lot of good people. You got gold medalists. You even got guys in the NHL right now. Like, what does that say? How does it feel for you knowing like the program has been able to create, players that have I'm from the area, and the junior Canes have produced, like I said, gold medalists and NHLers.
It's exciting. I think it goes back to, and everyone who's ever worked with me or alongside me, it is such a team effort from an organizational standpoint to where these kids start to where they get to at the end. I give so much credit to the kids that do get there. The hard work they put in, the determination, of the sacrifices they have to make week in and week out on the weekends to continue to work on their craft. There's going to be more to come. It's going to be an exciting year. I think one of our most exciting days last year was watching Mary Derenbacher, who was a young girl who grew up here. She played with my son, winning a gold medal with the U.S. team at the girls' U18 World Championship. So to see Mary do that, she's still continuing to play at Shattuck St. Mary's at the highest level. She'll get the pick of whatever college she wants to go to.
Yeah, great program up there for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, she's just dominant. And then to watch some of these guys go off. The boys' path is a little bit longer because these colleges, especially Division I and even Division II, do not want the 18-year-old, graduated kid coming into play. There's a gap. There's a 2-year gap before kids actually do go to the colleges, unless you're like an elite level stud coming out of, U18 hockey. So there's always a harder, longer path for the boys to kind of get to that level. But it's exciting. There's a ton of kids coming out of our programs. There's a ton of kids working hard. Our Tier 3 junior program here continues to put on some great teams and win championships. And an exciting part, what we're looking to see this year, a lot of people don't know about other programs we do. We have special hockey programs. We also have a sled hockey program. We have a young man who is from Virginia but plays on our program because we're the closest one to him. He made the U.S. sled team, so he's going to the Czech Republic the end of October. And everything we're hearing about him is that he has a chance to make the Winter Olympics with the U.S. team. So
that's insane.
Wow,
if this happens, it's crazy. They skate every Saturday morning over at the Iceplex. So to watch these kids again, sometimes we get carried away, and where my job keeps me centered is we take for granted being able to go out there and skate around and do everything we love. But to watch these kids that have disabilities of some kind get into a sled and play the same way you do and love the sport as much as you do, it's awesome to be a part of and watch these kids grow and work as hard as we do on the ice out there in their sleds as well.
I will say, too, I've had the opportunity to play with a sled hockey player at a local stick and puck, and the amount of work that goes into that, it blows my mind.
If you've ever wanted to try it, I can get you to it is the hardest thing I've ever done. One, I'm not very flexible, so the hamstrings get tight. But two, the shoulders and the work that they put in through their core is unbelievable.
Insane.
You'll be looking like Rod Brindamore by the end of it.
I would need to spend 45 years in a sled to look like Rod. Hold on a second. Are you saying I don't look like Rod? What are you saying?
I was saying Bailey would.
Oh, Bailey. I thought you were talking to me.
I was going to say, God.
I look like Rod. That's why I was on his line. I look exactly like him.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry. I saw Willis, and for a minute I was like, no, that's Brindamore out there. Why does it say Willis on the back?
I was gonna say, you might be
I remember
people Doug is afraid to go on a beach with.
All right, yeah, let's make sure to send it to Shane R. Willis because gosh, both of you.
So that's really interesting and like honestly really cool news. So has there ever been the option? So does the youth hockey that you do with when you go to Canes games and there's the little like peewee hockey that plays during like the intermissions? Is there ever been, or is there ever like talks of getting if like sled hockey players out there or anything like that? Because I think that would bring even more awareness to it.
So we've had a couple opportunities. This was pre-COVID. We actually had 3 U.S. Olympians come in, and they skated with some of our adult members in intermission one time. And then last year during special needs night, we usually invite the sled guys to do one of the intermissions to get a little bit, again, that's the biggest thing about these programs, right? We're trying to elevate them to a level where, one, maybe you have a son or daughter at home and they love the sport, but you don't know how to get them involved. There's a program to get your kid involved. It is no cost, if any cost, to get them involved in this sport with some of the sponsorships we have. Or maybe you have a company, right? Maybe you have a company that's looking to do something and make an impact in our community like our foundation does. There are opportunities that if a company wants to make a donation or do something like that for a program that absolutely changes people's lives, we have those opportunities, and it's a great way to showcase that. Like you said, at a Hurricanes game, what better way to put these kids out on the ice and everyone go like, what's this all about? They get involved. We know a friend that has, a son or daughter that could do this. And we have that way to kind of continue to bring the game to our community in different ways.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, I love watching all the younger kids during the intermissions when they go out there and play. And you can hear they're kind of announcing one of the games, but there's multiple going on. So you're watching one, and like sometimes the announcement lines up because they're all falling or they're all taking shots. Then you hear Stormy's somehow causing even more chaos that's already on the ice with the Pee-wees. So it's really on everything you do with the youth hockey. Like, it's so fun. And again, just tying it back
Super rewarding opportunity
with UNC. Like, just hearing
community.
that kid like saying like he didn't know anything about it. He watched a little bit, got super like he watched the Canes, apparently told his parents he really liked it. They got involved, and then to see his coach out there, like, that was awesome. So honestly, it's just growing the game more here in North Carolina. And like you said, you had someone from Virginia coming down here for opportunities too. So
not just that, but with as involved as you're getting girls into the community too, like as like female in sports, like it's really inspiring and good to know that you guys are kind of helping foster that generation of girls in sports as well. So
yeah, that area is really thriving. Sarah Swingle is doing such a great job along with other members of the Junior Hurricanes, and she took her team to the national championships last year for the girls, having a great run there. But watching that excitement and everything continue to grow on the female side, you have to look at the PWHL and everything they're doing to continue to foster that energy. And it's really growing here in Raleigh in the right direction. So it's an exciting time for Sarah and all of us as we continue to watch these young girls, again, push, continue to move, continue to grow their crafts, and push now at a dream of maybe one day playing professionally.
Absolutely.
Well, on some other recent news, you might have thought you saw Broad Brenda Moore jumping out of an airplane, but really it was one Mr. Shane Willis and Stormy. Mike already kind of told us a little bit that he was kind of glad that he was busy at the time because he was not looking forward to it. But I want to hear about your experience with it.
Oh my goodness.
So this has come across my desk several times.
Really?
I have dodged it for years. I'm just like, I was like every other person saying, nope, not going to do it. Why would I do that? I mean, why do I want to risk my life going in? And so when we talk about the youth programs, we work closely with the program down at Fort Liberty. And so I'd be there and I'd talk to these guys. I'm like, why do they want me to jump out of a plane? And they're like, I mean, we do it all the time. I'm like, oh, still. And they go, well,
yeah, you're not me.
yeah. He goes, we're like professionals. Like, have you ever heard of anything really bad happening at the Army? I'm like, not really, maybe, no. And he goes, exactly. He goes, even if you were to freak out, say you knocked out the guy you're attached to. I'm like, yeah, which could happen. And he goes, there's like a computer chip in that backpack and it's going to set it off when you get to a certain height. I'm like, oh, still no, not going to do it. And then this year, it was a mom. Her husband works in civil affairs at the base, and she emailed me her young son got into hockey. And she said, you know, the Golden Knights have a couple spots left open if you and some of the team wanted to come down. And I opened it and I closed it. And I don't know what made me think of it. I'm like, maybe. And then I literally just sent back, okay, we'll do it. Once I hit send, I was like, oh no, like we're in now. And so I went around the office gathering people up, and I had to bring the video crew and some of the people that got to jump with us are on our social media crew and a video crew. And then when I got to Stormy, the coordinator,
did you agree for Stormy?
yeah, I talked to him and I said, "You're doing this or what?" And he was like, "No," and he was really nervous. And so then he goes, "Well, look, this was a few years ago," and he shows me a video of the Islanders dragon. Like, it wasn't with the Golden Knights, but he was jumping. He was in the air, and he showed me this on social media. I'm like, well, there's your answer. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you cannot let the Islanders beat us. I said, you're in. He's like, oh, you're right. Now, this guy had the cold sweats for 3 days before we went. Like, he couldn't sleep. He was freaking out. I borrowed Eric Cole's van. He was nice enough to let me borrow his van so I could take my whole team with me. He immediately got in and went to sleep. I said, this is the best sleep he's had all week. We're on the drive to the place. We had one of our young ladies who is in our foundation. She bailed. He had to go in and he had to sign some paperwork and watch a little video. And as soon as she saw the video, she said, I'm out. And I'm like, okay. So the rest of us suited up. Stormy was ready, but we were all so like no one was really nervous, and I mentally just told myself this is happening. Like there was never a point in the entire day where I was like, I'm scared. And I think I kind of just flipped into, athlete mode of I just closed everything else off.
Mm-hmm.
And so you walk out to the plane, and again, these guys are the best of the best. If you watch the Golden Knights, if you're at a show and the things they can do in the air, and there's guys, again, they're working, they're going up and down all day long. That's their job to prepare for stuff like this.
Right.
And so they show you everything, and I felt pretty good. We get in the plane, and when you're sitting side by side, we're taxiing down the runway. The door is still open. The video guy is sitting on the floor. They're all singing. What were they singing? Well, they're singing like Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer as we're taxiing. They're high-fiving. They're all juiced up.
Oh my
Then he
God.
closes the door. We take off, and we're all sitting there talking. He's like, all right, let's turn on the air conditioning. He opens the door back up, and I said, yeah, when I'm on Delta, they're worried if my cell phone is turned on. And we have a door open.
Yeah, right.
And then, you get to the point, you jump from 13,000 feet. So you sit back, you start getting strapped on to, the front of you where your guy is behind you. And he goes, are you ready? And I said, yep. And you get to the door, and there's no holding back. It's 1-2 and you're out the door. So to me, I tell everybody the free fall part was the best. Like everyone thinks that's going to be the scariest. That was the best part. Although if I sent you guys the actual video and still pictures of your face, you would think, I mean, I told Hannah Yates, who was in Atlanta, we still text all the time. And I said, Hannah, you should see the picture of this. And she goes, I would pay money. So of course, I don't care. I sent it to her. I said, it's $50. She goes, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like your face is just flapping in the wind. They have a helmet on, so their face looks normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the free fall part was fine. Then he gives you a little tap after and tells you to put your arms back in because you're about to pull the cord. That was at the only moment when I said, well, this is it. This is it. If this doesn't work, we're in trouble. Now, the guy who's videoing you, like they give you a video and still pictures, is basically free falling in front of you. And he looks like he's sitting in a lazy boy chair. Like he has zero concern on his face. He's just in the air.
Yeah.
You pull your ripcord and you realize how fast you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels almost like you're rappelling back to the plane. And your video guy continues to bullet towards the earth until you can't see him anymore. Like he disappeared so fast out of my vision. I was like, whoa. So then you float down. The floating down part reminded me of being the swings at the fair. I was like getting a little queasy. I'm like, can we get on the ground already? Like I'm done with this.
Oh gosh.
You make a nice landing. And as I said, when you come in, you got to lift your feet up straight. Flexibility was an issue for me. I was like, oh boy. So stretch your legs out. He stretches his out and you come in and just land right on your butt. And everything's great. He's tapping. He's like, oh, great. They come over running for an interview. And afterwards, I was thinking as I'm watching everyone land on this grass, it's just a grass field. I said, how many times you guys come out here and pick up rocks? Like that would sting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That would be, you'd be in trouble. And they're like, oh yeah, it's perfect. No problem. I said, anthill, do you guys spray out here? Like you could have a serious issue with these people coming in. They interview you and we were done. I mean, it was probably the most intense thing I've ever done in my life.
The one thing I will say, I was wondering, you brought up Stormy going to do it with you. And the one thing I just imagine is him screaming, clutching his head as he's going down.
I was thinking about him going down in the
ground,
costume too. I was like, not only is he going, like jumping out of the plane, but he's in the costume. Like, what is that inside that head?
Yeah. Well, he was in there. I mean, it's him. I said we would definitely be in some serious trouble and we'd have to pay a serious medical bill if, like, imagine Stormy's head just landing in some kid's yard. Like, what that would do to a kid, the trauma. Yeah, giant pig head just lands in your backyard.
That's why I was just sitting there imagining like him like holding on for dear life as he's going down, hurtling towards the ground.
It was heavily secured, with the hopes that we didn't choke him out.
Think about the guy behind him. He's like, I'm trying to see around this giant pig
Oh yeah, he
head.
couldn't see anything. He couldn't see anything.
Well, I guess you really can't say, yeah, I'll do that when pigs fly because...
Yeah, that's what he posted after. He said, all of you that said when pigs fly, you're in.
Yeah,
But those guys, I mean, those guys are professionals. I was talking to the guy after, and I said, "Well, how fast were we going?" And he goes, "We probably free fall at about 125 miles an hour."
Jeez.
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Huh,
Just casual.
just casual."
Yeah, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it was a good time. Our staff had a great time. Again, it's one of those, I say once in a lifetime. I mean, I'm sure at some point I
was
could
gonna
probably
say,
do
is
it
this
again.
something you could see yourself doing again? Yeah.
I would do it again. I mean, I wasn't going to go right back up. Like, you are drained afterwards. Like, they said you'll be drained. Like, everything just kind of rushes out of you. But I would do it again. Now that you've done it, I would probably do it again.
Yeah, it's a lot like I've never done it, but I'm guessing it's a lot like you said, like the actual free fall is not that bad. Like you get maybe a little of that stomach turn, but then immediately it's just you're chilling.
Mm-hmm.
But jumping out, like I feel like the whole thing is the anticipation up, right? Like that's what's the anxiety and the anticipation, just like a roller coaster. Like you know what's coming, so you're just super like, okay, like on edge. And then when you're finally out there, you're like, well, like you said, like, well, this is it. I'm already here.
Yeah. The one of the girls that came with us, she's like, "Well, what if I say no?" And he goes, "Well, you got to understand, in a plane, it's loud. That sounds like go to us." And he's like, "We'll probably just go." I'm like, "Oh,
okay, here we go."
Your options are yes and yes.
Yeah. I said, "Well, I'm definitely not." I mean, the good thing was if there was other guys there, like players, you would not live it down if you landed back on the ground still inside that plane. Like you would have got just verbally torn apart. So
yeah, especially with some of the guys from what we've heard on this team.
Yeah,
you're done for.
Burnsy was the second person once we posted to text me. He's like, "Oh man, that's so awesome." He's like, "I want to do it."
Oh,
no,
I could just imagine Jarvie sending the text too. Like, I went on a jet ski without a life jacket. What about you, man?
Yeah. What'd you do this summer?
Oh man, I'm surprised Burns hasn't done it, and then two, I bet a lot of people would love to see Burns do it. They'd be like, that's par for the course.
I basically think Eric Tolsky be like, in your contract that says please don't do anything that might get you hurt. So
there's a lot of things in that contract that I would have. I mean, if I would have had showed up with guys, I would have gotten fired. But I did ask Rod. I mean, I asked him in the room. I said, "Rod, do you want to come with me next week?" He goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "We're going to go jump out of a plane." And it was a quick, no thanks. He actually sounded like Paul Maurice when he said no thanks to me.
Did he call you Wilbur though? That's the real question.
No, Rod doesn't go the Wilbur trail.
Oh God.
I know we don't really talk a lot about other teams, but like you seeing Paul Maurice actually finally win his Stanley Cup after so many tries. Like, what was that? Just being able to see your old coach finally be able to basically get to the top of the mountain finally for the first time.
I think it's awesome. I mean, Paul has put in so much work, and I mean, as players do, he's definitely evolved as a coach as well. I mean, he's not the same coach he was when he coached here for me or for the Hurricanes or when he was in Winnipeg. And I think that's why he's still in the game and why he's so good. So when you can see a guy that had an impact on your career and on your life win it, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, every guy who's not in the Stanley Cup Finals and you're watching those two teams, you're cheering for your buddies. You're cheering for guys you grew up with, guys you maybe played with. And then, hopefully they can win it, and he was able to do it. So it was awesome to see. I know his family's put in a lot of time. You think about that behind the scenes, how long he's been going, and his family and the support. And he talked about that after he won it too. So it's great to see guys like that.
And Stevie Lorentz too. So there you go. We got a coach and a former Hurricane. So big shout out to Stevie for that. So
I know. Yeah, it's got to be between throughout the league, like either it's a family member maybe winning it, a former teammate, a former coach. So it's like that bittersweet of like, oh, I wish I was in that spot, but also you're like, well, good for them, because if it's someone you've previously played for, like you're like, we've worked together at one point towards this goal and they've reached it, so now it's just it's my turn.
And I was going to say, speaking of, things looking a little bit different for Paul Maurice, I mean, he's not the only thing that maybe looked different for a Stanley Cup. I mean, we're looking into new Hurricanes team into this coming year too. What's kind of the most exciting thing when you kind of take a look at this new roster for the year?
Well, I think the new year is always exciting because you don't really know what you're going to get. I think the best part for Hurricanes fans is you know that the core of this team continues to play together and set the tone on any given night. So you look at some of the pieces the team lost, and I talked to everybody there in the summer. Of course, you get to free agency and you watch the pieces that end up leaving and going to different teams. And
Absolutely.
it's the absolute opposite of we had last year, right? So after free agency ended and the odds out of Vegas came out, oh, the Hurricanes are sitting at number 1, and we take everything and we swing to the right and we say, here we go, we got it won now.
Right.
Now this year, you lose Brady Shea, you lose Brett Pesce, you lose who else do we lose?
Teravainen and
Teravainen, you lose
Nason.
Yep. And we lose, I can't think of his name. He's in Tampa now.
Oh,
Gensel.
Jake Gensel.
Right.
Yeah.
And Anthony Ronta, and Ronta's going back to Europe too. So.
Sure, and Ronce is going back to Europe. But you look at those 5 guys, and everyone takes it and swings it back to left and be like, oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And I'm like, let's back the bus up a minute. Right? Antti Ranta wasn't even playing, so we take that out of the picture. Teuvo Teravainen, for what Chicago paid him, to me, when you look at it, when did Teuvo Teravainen, in the moments that we needed this past couple years, step up and hammer one in the back of the net, right? So it's okay. You can replace that goal scoring. Brett Pesce, just a solid stay-at-home defenseman. You have to look at the pieces you add in our own free agency, because I think there is some very crucial signings to take place of that. You're gonna miss Brady Shea's goals. To me, that's one area you're gonna miss the goals, and you're gonna miss Jake Gensel's goals up front. But that doesn't leave out the fact that, does Andrei Svechnikov score 40 goals this year? Does Marty Necas score 30 goals? Does Sebastian Aho blow 100 points out of the water? You have the ability of guys to jump into positions and elevate their games to take place of everything you lost. Who's your number 1 in net? Is it Piotr? Is it Freddie? Is it Spencer Martin? You have 3 goalies that can totally backstop. And when you still look at your defensive core, you bring Shane Gostisbehere back. You add Sean Walker, who, when you look at Sean Walker and you look at Brett Pesce, you watch both those players this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because you potentially could have a little bit of a better fit in Sean Walker than in Brett Pesce.
And
So,
and a reasonable price too.
Right.
What Pesce got.
You have Burns and Slavin, still solid. You have Orlov, and Jalen Chatfield will continue to get better. The way Jalen Chatfield skates and everything, now he's going to get more elevated ice time. And we talk about this a lot on the show. What makes players better? I'm like, more ice time. I said, they're all great, but it's about opportunity and how do you get those guys on the ice more to continue to develop. So I'm excited about the season. I think it's going to be as tight as ever in the Metro Division, because New Jersey did get better. The Rangers are still good. The Caps, Pittsburgh's always going to be hanging around. So I look for the Canes to fight to be in 1 through 3 once again. And that's where you're going to be. And then when the playoffs start, as we all know, it's zeros across the board, and who can, stay healthy and get on a hot run with a hot goaltender to win it all.
Yeah.
And Zach kind of brought this up a little bit too. And I want to touch on this because this was something that really made me excited for it too, was defense particularly. And looking at the contracts that Brett Pesce and Brady Shea got, and then looking at how we bolstered our blue line anyway. And I think that really, kind of set the stage for being allowed, or us being able to kind of set a lot of our forwards up too. But I don't think that was a detriment to our blue line at all. And it makes me personally super excited. I had the opportunity to watch Sean Walker a lot last year. And I will say I'm so excited for what he's going to bring to this team, but especially on the contracts that they got too. It's just, it's really exciting.
I think it is extremely important, and a lot of people overlook the fact of, and again, if I'm Brady Shea, because Brady Shea loved being here. There wasn't a question that he loved playing for Rod and being here. But a lot of people overlook the fact, I'm like, hey, if someone offered me that, I'd be like, I'll see you later. I mean, you're not going to not take that deal.
Yeah.
But what we overlook a lot of times, I think, what the Hurricanes are so good at is they do not get stuck in one of those contracts. Because those contracts are the ones in 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah,
You're paying a guy on the downward side of the hill
right.
a lot of money.
Speaking,
And then you have to wait. If that's your motto, you want to pay because we're going to try and win it in the next 2 years. But if you don't, the next 5 are going to be painful because you can't bring in pieces around them anyways.
Yeah. And honestly, I have a couple more questions about I know saying contracts and the Canes don't really get like stuck in many of those. And I do have some questions following that, but I want to do a quick throw to our sponsors because I mean, we can honestly talk to Shane forever, but we do need to throw a quick, hey, how are you doing to our sponsors and hear from them. And then we'll be right back with some more questions with Shane Willis. TD, Tutty, take it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown. I'm more accustomed to words such as apple and celly and all a guy's flow. Like, so the touchdown, yes, I'm not as familiar with all the vernacular. And am I still waiting for my boyfriend's team new quarterback to throw a touchdown? Yes, I am. But that's what the fun of betting is. Not that I'm doing it personally, but I know all of you out there find fun in that, living your football dreams to the guys on the TV. So score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
And with that, we really appreciate our sponsors over at DraftKings for the network. But as we tune in to our show-specific sponsors, I want to throw it over to SeatGeek. They've been a sponsor of us for the past few months now, and we've really enjoyed working with them. SeatGeek, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the name, is a ticketing app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. If you guys are looking for tickets, whether it be sporting games, concerts, other events that are held in stadiums and arenas alike, SeatGeek can likely help you. They give you a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or bad deal, which, Kat, seems pretty simple to me.
I mean, yeah, green is good, red is bad. And honestly, the other day I was kicking myself because I bought tickets to go see the North Carolina Courage. And literally after I hit the button, I was like, I could have done this through SeatGeek. And I was like, I could have gotten $20 off. That's amazing. Our viewers get $20 off your first ticket purchase with our code, all caps, thesurgecast. And I was like, why didn't I take advantage of the thing I tell you guys almost every week to go do? So if you are going to any soccer games, basketball games, hockey games, football games, concerts, go to SeatGeek. It's so easy. They show you your view that you're going to see half the time, which is honestly, that's part of my thing too, is I'm always like, how good is the view from these seats? Like, is it obstructed? Is the price worth what I'm going to be seeing? They make it so easy. And they tell you like straight up, hey, this is kind of a bad seat. So again, go to SeatGeek and use our code not THPN. Sorry.
Technically, it is THE.
It's THE, the SurgeCast, and get your $20 off your first order. But I mean, we're in the middle of talking with the youth hockey guy of the Carolina Hurricanes, Shane Willis. And I'm sure if you're going to be doing youth hockey stuff, where else are you going to go get all your equipment or maybe get your skate sharpened, Bailey?
I mean, it has to be our OG sponsors of the podcast and Primo X Hockey. If you guys are looking for anything hockey related, whether it be merch or gear alike, they've probably got what you're looking for. Head over to primoxhockey.com. Throw some things in your cart. Maybe you're looking for more grip tape. Maybe you're looking for wax for your stick. Maybe you're looking for a new banner to put up on your wall that literally says Primo X Hockey so you can rep one of the best gear companies in the Triangle. throw those things in your cart. And while you're at it, before you check out, use code SurgeCast in that promo code area for 20% off your order. We talk about it all the time. That Sebastian Aho discount. I promise you guys it's worth it. If you're not like me, I'm more of an online shopper myself. But if you guys are not, they do have a warehouse in the Raleigh area. So if you guys, driving through the Triangle area, maybe you live in Raleigh or close to Raleigh, be sure to check out their warehouse. It is over on Diggs Drive, 1401 Diggs Drive, Suite E. They're open 7 days a week, guys. They've just updated their hours recently, I believe. Now they're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. You might not be getting that discount in store, but they've got a great group of guys running the show over there. Be sure to go say hi and let them know the SurgeCast sent you. One of the cool things about going into their shop, though, you get $5 skate sharpenings. Seems like a great deal to me. So again, Primo X Hockey, we are so appreciative for having them as sponsors of the podcast. Online shoppers, go check them out, primoxhockey.com, code SurgeCast, 20% off your order. And something I did forget to mention for those online shoppers, there is free shipping in the continental US. So again,
as soon as you see free shipping, you got to hit that button, man.
Oh,
absolutely. You buy it immediately, saving on something. So
I mean, I know anytime I hear free, that's like done deal. Cool for me. So again, guys, go check them out, primoxhockey.com. And with that, we're going to throw it back over to the rest of the show and our outro, or not our outros, for the rest of the show.
Rest of our talk with Shane. Like we were saying, you were talking about the contracts and everything. So I do want to ask you, Shane, about, you kind of mentioned them too, with pieces that we lost in the off season, but pieces that we still had that we can expect a lot out of. Who do you have high expectations for? Who do you expect to have big seasons? And of one of those, also speaking of the contracts, what are your thoughts on Kotkaniemi's? I mean, he's one of those guys with a big contract that fans are it's a big question mark.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I think that comes with, when you get contracts like that, pressure comes with it. And I think Jesperi has shown moments, right? He's shown moments of like, oh, there it is. And it just hasn't caught. And it goes back. And then he shows it again. It just goes back. So I think the pressure's on Jesperi to kind of have that breakout. Sebastian's going to be Sebastian. I think Andrei Svechnikov, 40 goals is not a unreasonable number to look for from Andrei. I think Marty Necas and Seth Jarvis you have to have more. I think people overlook the fact that guys can't come back and put up the same thing, right? You're going to have to put up more. And those two players are going to be called upon. I think I've spoke with Rod a little bit, and we heard about the conversations that were had with Marty Necas and his desire to play center. Does that happen? Yet to be seen, right? When training camp opens, where does Rod have him slotted? Does he get a couple of chances in exhibition? Who does he play with? I mean, I can tell you, I sit down here in my office in the basement and I play armchair coach all the time and GM, and I know my lines. I was telling someone the other day, but I'm like, I'd put these three guys together. But again, Rod's not going to listen to me. He only passed me the puck and got me so many goals in the National Hockey League, but he's a smart coach. I lean hard offense. That's probably why I sit in this office now, but
hey, at least you got fantasy hockey, right?
That's what I try and do now, and I can't even win at that. Mike and I lose every year now.
Hey, you guys did better than me, so I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, if Mike listens to the podcast, like, do I fire Mike? Is he the assistant? Do I fire him? Or probably not. But I think
becoming the middlemen, guys.
Yeah, you have to have, and going back to Jesperi and the Kotkaniemi deal. When you look at that now, term wise, very, very long. Mm-hmm. But when you actually look at the number and the money in the National Hockey League right now, it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. It's not that high. Because he's going to get you 10 to 15 goals. Right. That's the number, $4 million. That's probably a $2.5 to $4 million player in the league right now. Mm-hmm. We just don't think it is, but it's not horrible. And I look at it at the plus side. If Jesperi catches fire and say he gets you 25, that number is on our side.
Right.
So it's a little bit
younger than guys with worse contracts.
Correct.
So he's got a lot of upside.
That's the thing.
He's got youth on his side.
He's not that old. He's not that old.
No,
Mm-mm.
after free agency hits and the season starts, I always text my dad and yell at him a little bit for having me about 15 years too early because these contracts are unbelievable.
Well, and plus just the style of the game too, because I've mentioned it on a bunch of different places. Like if you put what your skill set was in today's game, like who knows? Like it could be a bunch of different goals. Like
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't be talking about Connor McDavid. They'd be talking about me. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, totally.
Will the Thrill.
Yeah.
That's
Imagine
a name
that.
everyone would have known.
Hey,
No chance.
you know that Shane Willis guy down in Carolina? My goodness.
No chance.
No, but I mean, again, just kind of bringing up Kotkaniemi too. I mean, there's a bit of I think, competition factor too, because I've seen a lot of people in a lot of different places kind of pit him versus Drury, because I know Drury might be vying for that spot as well. So I think training camp's there's going to be a lot of eyes, I believe, specifically on those two, at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah, and I think I love the unknown factor of a young guy, right? And we're lucky enough to watch, and we talk about how the Canes draft and what they do, but the young group that we just sent that maybe was a little bit more experienced than some of these teams that came to Nashville over the past weekend, which today is September 16th, but we slaughtered everybody. Like it wasn't, hey, let's play a tight little 3-2 game. Like putting up 7 goals. I don't know what they put up today. They were playing Nashville in the final game.
Lost by 1.
Lost by 1 today.
I think.
It was 5. Oh, it was 5-4. Because I know at one point it was 5-3. So
not bad.
I mean, hey, okay, I gotta ask you, Shane. Gleb Cherkasov, this kid has been absolutely torching the tournament right
5-4.
now. Like, what are your thoughts on him? Because I know, like, he was really hyped up around the rookie development camp, and he's had a really good showcase. Like, what are your thoughts on just him coming over here, first year of his ELC, and just 4 goals already? Like, he lit it up. Like, what are your thoughts on him?
I mean, at face value, you're like, oh, here we go, right? What's this kid gonna do? But we had a dinner the other night in one of our foundation events, and I was sitting with Brent Burns, and we were talking about that. We were talking about young players and playing in these games, and then exhibition. You know, you get a young guy that kind of catches fire, but game 1 and game 55 and game 75 may be a different story. And veteran guys know that the game is different when everything really gets rolling in the right direction. Not saying this young man can't do that, but I think Rod and this organization looks at development in such the right way that being in Chicago for a year and learning that, maybe coming up, for a game or two and getting his feet wet, it's really what young guys need, especially when it's their first year over here. So getting that experience is crucial, but I'm not going to count the guy out. I'm not going to count out, a Bradley Nadeau to come out and all of a sudden light up an exhibition, and maybe we have another Seth Jarvis on our hands, right?
I was going to ask, who do you see? Because we asked Mike this similarly: is who do you see potentially breaking in? Maybe not exactly Seth Jarvis, but showing up a little bit more than like almost cracking the roster or potentially cracking the roster. Do you have any guys on your radar specifically?
My focus is always on the forward, just because we're so deep on the back.
Value offense.
Yeah, that's the only thing I value.
Defense? What's defense?
Yeah, I can't skate backwards. I didn't even know. I have to look back sometimes to see who our goalie was on the roster.
Makes me feel a little better.
Who is that?
But I think if you look at Nadeau, I think Robidas, I think the young Russian player that you mentioned, and then Jackson Blake. I think these guys have really put the work in. Like, these young guys came into Raleigh very, very early to get in the weight room with Bill Burniston, to be around some of the veteran players when they got in early, to skate here and prepare themselves. Now, does one of them stick the whole year? Because the other factor you thinking, because a lot of people are like, well, why would they send them down? You have to play. And Mike and I have talked about this at length on the podcast. You cannot sit in the press box and become a better player. You just can't. And that's probably the hardest thing for a young player to deal with, is saying, hey, we're going to send you down. We need you to play. But going down and playing a lot of minutes in Chicago is so much better for their development than sitting here and playing does he play 12 minutes a night and then he sits out a game and then he's in for another 12 minutes a night?
Yeah.
If a guy's going to crack the lineup, does he crack it in your top 6 forwards like Seth did? Or maybe your top 9? But if you're in, the 11, 12, 13 slot, they're probably going to lean at keeping a veteran guy here because he knows that role. He knows how to play in those situations and let these young guys go and just, winning a championship in Chicago is a big deal. And it's part of development. So it's going to be interesting. Camp is always exciting. I know the guys are it's always these 3 days. They're like, all right, let's just get it going already. And training camp is so much different than it used to be. We used to go to training camp for a month. Like it was just a grind for a month. And we'd go down to Florida. We were in Fort Myers in a hotel, just living. We'd go play Tampa or we'd go play the Panthers. We'd come back. We'd continue to skate there. Every few days, someone would get cut and sent back to junior or wherever they would go. So it's a much shorter process now, but these guys are in such good shape and ready to go from day one that the pace of camp starting Thursday and Friday will be through the roof, and Rod will have these guys ready for the first exhibition game next week.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Too many questions. No,
is this how it happens with 3 people?
Yes.
Oh yeah, all the time. it's complete chaos, no pun intended. No, and like you kind of mentioned the whole lengthy process versus now too. Do you think that would be something that would benefit guys in today's world of hockey, or do you kind of see why and how this shorter process works?
Well, I think it is not as beneficial as a longer runway, right? Because they've shortened the amount of exhibition games. So you're not going to get as many looks. At some point, the coach has to go with the team he thinks is. So you don't have quite as much time to impress the coach and the management team as we used to have. Seeing us every day, doing different tests, playing in more exhibition games to kind of get those looks and get your feet going in the right direction to make a team.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too, like you said, like, are they going to, it's beneficial for them to play down there. So yeah, Seth Jarvis cracked the lineup, and everyone's like, well, I want to be the next Seth Jarvis, of course. But there's also guys like Nason and Drury, and they'd spent a little time down there, but their chemistry down there even helped them when they came up here and played together. And I mean, you've got even other guys like, even Slavin played for the Checkers for a second before he even came up to the roster. So it's not, like you said, it's not a detriment for them to be playing. If anything, you're getting your more experience, more times with guys that might be cracking the roster with you. And overall, you've got like different, like either you can get right onto the roster but being down there is not bad. Either way, you have different guys like paths you can follow. And that's what's kind of nice with the Canes is like, you're like, I really want these young guys to get up there. But there's times like, especially it was unprecedented, but during the COVID season, we saw a bunch of young guys come up, and you're like, that was the time where everyone noticed the Canes they're pretty good with their young guys. Like, you're like, I wasn't even really paying attention to them as much because they're down there. They're not right on the ice. But then you're like, all right, the Canes know what they're doing with the youth they've got waiting to come up onto the ice, to the point where we've had guys have to go to other teams because they can't, there's so much talent waiting in the wings that they're like, I need my shot somewhere else.
Yeah,
so
there's no question that playing is huge. And when I think about this organization and the way Rod has changed the culture, right? And the number one thing when you talk about culture is character. And you look at players that have to go through that grind and what that builds inside them. One of the other guys that jumps out to me is, if you go back and look at Jalen Chatfield's journey to get to where he is today, and the guy he is on and off the ice, that's part of that character building asset. And you know, a guy who's gone through the trenches to continue to put that jersey on and the way he works every single day, that's what you build, right? It's hard for a young guy. I've sat in the room saying, we're going to send you to the minors. It sucks. That is the worst thing that you want to hear. But how do you change that? How do you change that mindset when you get there to become the best player? All right, I'm here for a reason, right? And that's part of that internal growth. It doesn't matter if you're in professional sports or whatever business you're in, right? When your boss is talking to you saying, I need you to do this, a lot of us want to sit there and be like, this is crap. I should be doing this, this, and this. Well, the guys who excel go, all right, thank you, I'm going to do that. And you go and put the work in and prove yourself. That's what these guys continue to do. And I think that's what this organization preaches, and why their young players are so good and ready when they do get the opportunity to play here.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you look at where we're at now with the Chicago Wolves. I mean, you got Cam Abbott, who's going to be the head coach. I mean, you look at his track record with Rogla BK, he wins the CHL over there. And just the guys that he even mentored who are in the NHL now, Niles Hoglander, Ray Sider, and all that. So, I mean, if you're having to send Bradley Nadeau and Jackson Blake and Felix Unger-Storm, those guys down to Chicago, that's not a bad coach to learn from who's been there and done that here in North America and also in Europe too. And you look at the list, like I said, of the guys who are already in the NHL that he's coached over there. So it's not a bad thing to have to go down to Chicago.
The other part for a young team that I think would excite a guy is they're going to be really good. You're not going down to battle it out in the American League and be like, hopefully we make the playoffs. Like, this team is stacked with talent.
Yeah.
No, and it reminds me, I had the opportunity to interview Walt for a school paper or whatever, and he mentioned a phrase to me that I really kind of attribute to, a team mindset. You have to grow through it to go through it. And I think that's really, really representative of kind of what I've seen from this team and how that prospect building and that prospect farming situation kind of works.
Yeah. I think that's the same thing for the team that's here. Right? These last few years have not been the result that they've wanted, because the result for every team, especially when this team looks at itself in the mirror every single day, is to hoist the Stanley Cup. And they've come short the past 2 years in certain situations that they felt they should have been better. And I think they, as a group going through that, continues to give them an edge every single year. Teams that have never tasted it have a very tough time getting through. Florida went through it. Right? Yeah. Florida went through it once. They got back to it. They knew what they needed to do to win it. And this team's very close. Like I said, it takes bounces. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean it takes? I mean, it takes bounces to win games and to win a Stanley Cup. It takes great health. You have to have guys that are as healthy as they can be at that time of year, because no one's really healthy. And it takes having a goalie that steals you games.
Gets hot at the right time.
Yeah, it just does. You have to have your goalie steal you a couple in the playoffs where you're like, we didn't deserve that one, but he was out of his mind. And Bobrovsky did that last year.
As much as you'd love to say, like, the only reason they're in it is because of their goaltender. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Nope. Playoff Bob is like, there's no one that can deny Playoff Bob. Like, the amount of broadcast people in general are just like, how?
I said that going into Game 7 in Florida, everyone's like, oh, Edmonton's got all the momentum. Are they going to win it? I said, no. And they're like, what do you mean? They have the best player. I said, they don't have the best goalie. And I said, Bob will outplay the other guy. And what did he let in? The one soft one in the second period that broke their back. Yeah. That goal should have never went in. And it does squeak through them. And the game's over.
Yeah. Well, that's why with Tampa for so long, like, people were like, you expect it. Like, they have Vassy, so you have the expectations of Vassy. For Bob, it was kind of like, what were we going to get? And then he gets the playoffs, and you're like, there's nothing getting past him. And Florida has enough surrounding him. Like, they had the firepower to, all right, we can also score, but you're not getting past our goaltender. So it didn't matter if you had all the firepower on the other team, because if the other team wasn't going to match Bob,
I mean,
that was Florida's to take no matter what.
You look at both sides, one side can say, oh yeah, we have scoring. The other side can say, hey, we have both.
I mean, it's a well-rounded, if you look back at all the teams, it's always the well-rounded teams that would, like, people are like, you don't have a number one, like, you don't have a big goal scorer. And it's like, that's fine. Half the time in playoffs, I'm like, who's got the best goalie? Because it doesn't matter your score power. No offense to the offense, Shane, but I've always been the believer of defense wins the game.
Whose power play is hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, power play. Well, even I think the Florida's power play even went cold. I think everyone's power play went a little cold in the playoffs, which is wild to think about. But I'm excited. It's a different looking team, and I know I have some of them around me. For people that are kind of like really jumped on the Canes bandwagon last year or two, I think this is going to be their first like real like shell shock of they're getting back into the season, and it's not going to be the guys they've been seeing on the ice for a while, and they're not used to that change. For some of us that have been around for quite a while, we've seen this kind of big change before. And with the Canes, it does seem to, it works out. Like they always do the moves you're not expecting, and they always seem to pan out in the long run. Do we love all the guys that were there before? Yes. And did we wish we had pushed it all there at the end? Yes. But yeah, like we said, we're really excited to see who we've got on defense now. We're excited to see some of the other couple of additions around the ice and what the guys that we've had for a while really keep to contribute. Like, again, we're looking to see more from Svech, more from Natchez, more from a fully healthy Seth Jarvis, as long as we keep him away from jet skis. But Shane, as we close out our time with you, what are some big things coming up this season surrounding like the community and youth hockey in the area? I mean, even just things going on around, well, it's not PNC Arena anymore. It's Lenovo Center. It's official now.
I can't confirm or deny that yet.
It's out there. Oh gosh.
Call me on Thursday and I'll let
Mike
you know.
did the same thing to me. And I was
Except
like,
Mike actually got out of his chair when we asked.
Mike rolled
about it.
off screen. But I mean, it is officially announced, so I don't feel like I'm really spilling the beans. But what are some things in the community and with youth hockey that you're excited about, or things with the upcoming season?
Well, we're getting excited because so many great things can happen during the year. One thing we're getting ready to announce, not out there yet, our foundation is getting ready to put another $300,000 out into our community.
Oh my gosh.
To different organizations. So, what kind of things are we going to do to build that pot back up so we can continue to have an effect and change lives? Our 5K is coming up next Sunday. We sold out in our quickest amount of time ever. So we have 2,000 runners out here at PNC. Again, having a great time. People come, and I always talk about it, people come to the 5K because some of the guys come out, they get excited, they get to see what's going on. It's kind of that first day of let's build the energy back towards the season. But sometimes we overlook the fact that the amount of money we're able to raise and how we can change people's lives in our community. The Bash was back last year, which was huge for us. We're going to do that again this year.
Yes.
We're looking to do at another cool event at Top Golf. We haven't picked a date yet for a Top Golf event. We're going to try and pull off a pickleball event this year for our foundation in March. And then we're just going to continue to enjoy it. I think going to the rinks, it's one of the things we're going to try and do is continue to build energy around our youth that are playing. And how do we highlight that? How do we put spotlights all over our community to not only show what our brand is doing in the community, but what these great kids are doing and how these funds and these fundraisers are affecting their lives, because we've been able to do so many great things over the past year that we look to continue to do that in 24, 25 once again.
And speaking of exciting things to return to, when can we expect Canes Cast to make a return?
Yeah, Mike and I have been trying to get a date together. We are looking at next week to hit the airwaves again.
Wow, that's actually a better. Michael's like, we're figuring it
Technical
out.
difficulties. It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, we've had a heavy text string going, and we feel good about next week.
Okay.
We've been slow playing. We're leaning on sponsors, as you all do, to try and really come in strong.
We're trying our best. Well, another question for you: when's the Canes Cast League coming back around for a little fantasy? Got to do some redemptions this year.
Yeah, that was our other text string. We're really slack. We got to take him out for lunch still. But it'll be back at the draft.
Don't you owe dinner? You have to owe him dinner at this point.
Hey, easy. He only beat us twice.
Only.
Well, I'm looking at the schedule. So opening night's the 11th. I expect the draft to be somewhere in the range of the 7th, 8th, 9th window.
Okay. So basically, just keep around the notifications and of that.
Yeah,
reopening.
that's Mike's area. Since I'm not on social media, I like to let him handle all that.
All right.
All right, we'll just bombard him then. Be like, hey, Mike, when's it going to happen? Because
Yeah, just make sure you preface and put hashtag Shane said to ask you.
Okay.
And Shane,
we'll make sure to do that again. Hey, Shane said.
Shane said to call you. Mike's phone number is 919.
Oh gosh. Well, before we let you go, Shane, I threw the same kind of sporadic question at Mike before we ended our podcast with him the other day.
Okay.
Way too early Metro predictions. I don't know how comfortable you are with throwing those at us, but
I'll take Canes and Jersey battle for 1-2.
okay.
I'll take the Rangers in 3. I'll take the Penguins in 4. The Caps in 5. Columbus in 6. I mean, they were up against it before that tragedy this summer, and just I don't know how a team gets around that.
Yeah.
So Columbus down in 6.
All right.
Oh, Philly.
I was gonna say,
And the Islanders.
and the Islanders.
Philly 7.
Islanders
stink. God, the Islanders stink.
It's like the Islanders. Forget those.
If the Islanders somehow make the playoffs this year, like they've just squeaked in every year, they're not even good.
That's how they, dude. It's those overtime
overtime
games, man. The overtime games are their bread and butter.
The best thing was talking to Dennis Seidenberg, who works for them a little bit last year in the playoffs. He was talking to Tripp and I. He's like, I mean, what are we doing? And I'm like, you guys are bad. He goes, we can't even make a pass. Like we can't. Our defense cannot get a puck to the forwards. And I'm like, yes. So why are you here? Yeah.
And I love when everyone says, like, when the Canes play the Islanders, they're like, this is such a boring game. And I'm like, our games aren't typically boring, but when we play them, does it slow down? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little hard to say that too when they make history with what was it, the shortest or the most amount of goals in a short period of time in playoffs. But it's
and I think we've seen over the past few years the Metro taking both wild card spots.
Mm-hmm.
Watch for the flip this year. Watch for the the Atlantic to maybe take those spots away this year, and maybe only 3 Metro Division teams get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Shane, again, thank you so much for hopping on here and chatting with us. I know we took up a good portion of your time, and you might be looking to get home. So I know you're not on social media, but we kind of like to give all our guests a chance to plug their kind of endeavors and things like
any
that.
upcoming things you think Caniac should be aware of?
Yeah. So now's your time to shine.
Now you're testing my memory. I'm not very good at this part.
Shane R. Willis on Venmo.
Yeah, hit the Venmo. Check out, just keep an eye on the foundation. I think keep an eye on our community this year. Things we're doing. We need our fans and everyone's support to be behind us because it's going to be an exciting time. Everyone's seen the renderings around PNC and where we're going to. Maybe the Lenovo Center. Maybe.
Maybe.
But the foundation's going to make an impact. We're looking forward to, changing lives this year. Again, watch for our sled hockey program. That'd be pretty cool if we get a kid put on a USA hockey jersey to go to the Olympics.
Absolutely.
100%. Well, thank you, Shane. We're so excited. We're looking more for Canes Cat. Like you said, coming up soon. People should be expecting that. But it's so great. Thank you so much for joining us. This is your first time on the show with us, and we've been really excited. Again, we love talking with Mike, but we wanted to talk with the guy that he shares stories about all the time.
Yeah, I'm not too disappointed. I'm 6th, on the 6th episode. I thought I'd be more in the top 3, but it's fine. It's okay. Maybe next year I'll get in the top 3.
Oh yeah. We'll save the slot for episode 1. We got you.
Well, we also got to make sure he's got to have 6-7 more appearances on the podcast since Mike has been on.
I was gonna say Mike's vying for that honorary 4th co-host spot, so there's a little bit of a battle there. Maybe
he probably senses that he and I aren't very good. If we ever get canceled, he's just gonna join you guys.
That's
no. These two will just get rid of me. Exactly, we don't need you anymore. Just get out of here.
Oh God. Anyway, all right. Well, Shane, again, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Shane.
All right. That was super awesome having Shane Willis on. We've been wanting to get him on forever, and he was.
That's another bucket list person off the list.
I love that he called us out on our shenanigans. Like, is this how every episode goes?
Yes. For everyone who's listened to us for 4 seasons now, yeah, kind of. That's how his pocket. It's like we're the SearchCast for a reason.
I was gonna say that if you're looking for a professional podcast, you've come to the wrong place, guys.
No, that's Locked on Hurricanes. That's a little more professional.
I love all his insights, all his stories. Honestly, just the story of how about jumping out of the plane was awesome.
That was so good. Yeah, that was so great.
The ins and outs of that was wild. Again, I wish I could ask the Stormy person who how it was inside of that costume. It's wild.
Can we get them a little avatar and like a voice changer, get them on the podcast. Or
Just put the mic up under the head. That's all you need.
Yeah, like, what did you say? You're kind of muffled. What are you saying? What did I heard there?
Oh God.
But yeah, so thank you for sticking with us for this episode. Again, we told you when we had Mike on, we have a couple of guests that we're so excited to have on. Mike was reoccurring, but hey, we got Shane Willis for the first time. Hope to have him on again. Maybe later on the season, maybe into the season. I don't know. He's a busy man. There might be more planes to jump out of. But we are so excited about this season. Again, we're kicking it off with a bang and
hit the ground running.
It's just making the hockey season get closer and closer and us more excited as we talk to some of the insiders about their thoughts on the season.
Which, guys, I was going to say, rookie showcase, I believe the last game was today, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Next up is training camp.
Yeah.
Hockey's coming, guys. It's almost here.
Which starts Wednesday.
Yeah. So it's coming quick.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
We are so excited. But yeah, again, thanks for sticking with us. It's about average episode now. So you got I hope your commute was a little less this week. But yeah, so of course, we couldn't do this without our wonderful network. Zach, could you tell us where they can find our network and you?
Network, hockeypodcastnetwork.com, hockeypodnet on Twitter and wherever else. They're really great. They have podcasts for all the teams. They even have Terry Ryan from Shoresy on there too, if you want to go check that out. If you want to follow me, onetruezach on X, Zach R. Martin 22 on Instagram. I got link trees. You can find all the stuff that I'm doing for podcasting and writing on those side of things. So, yep.
I got link trees. You can find them.
We've shortened our outros. We've clearly our outros.
I know. I have to, because every time I try to do the normal one, I get shtick for it. So it's either I shorten it or get grief. I still get grief. So you know what? Fine. Whatever. It is what it is.
Bailey, where can they find our podcast and where can they find you?
Well, I'll start with me. Oh my God. You can find me over on X at baileyycurtis, and that's Bailey with 2 Y's. You can find me over on Instagram at baileyycurtis. Keep an eye on my socials, guys. I have some really cool information potentially coming here in the next few weeks, especially with things kind of ramping up, not only for Canes hockey, but for hockey out here in Colorado too. If you're looking for the SurgeCast, you can find us on all socials at the SurgeCast. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi, hello, how you doing? Be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below. Hit that like button and be sure to hit that bell notification icon so you never miss an episode. There are link trees in all of our bios everywhere that'll tell us not only where you can find us, but where you can find the SurgeCast on listening platforms as well. Kat, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on
You suck.
at caniacchic, or you can find me on TikTok at KVTHunter74. Real easy, but really excited. All right, you can go back to Locked On now, Zach. But we're real excited for this season, of course. I'm really excited for hockey to go all on my Twitter newsfeed again. Because honestly, there's too much football in there for me. I want hockey back. I want the memes. I want the videos. I want the goals. I want all of the fun stuff. Even
there's hitting in football, but it's so much more fun to watch in hockey. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's less flags. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Also, fantasy hockey starting up, so that'll be really fun to get into as well. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Again, we're so excited to be back in full force. Fun guests coming up. Hockey season's right around the corner. This was season 4, episode 6. I'm Kat.
I'm Bailey.
I'm Zach.
And that was Shane. And we'll see you next time at the SurgeCast.